Good evening, listeners. Welcome once again to the pod. Episode 24, would you believe, Ben?
Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to...
I know. Are we doing like a signpost thing for sort of, you know, medical support for those people that listen for the full year?
I don't know. Might be worth it.
Maybe you could do free diagnosis, mate. Really help them out. So yes, so thank you all. Thank you to those that have been with us for a year. Thank you to those, this is the first episode. But anyway, we are in the pod, thundering towards yet another planet. And tonight we are going to talk about, once again, as ever, the hobby desk. I've painted and actually finished some stuff. Ben's finished some stuff, obviously. Still on the Space Wolves. I'm sorry, guys, but it's still going on.
What do you mean still on them? I haven't done them in ages.
Yeah, well, it's too much, whatever it is. So, moving on anyway. So, into the Galaxy of War. Absolutely loaded. We've got Harlequins, we've got the Knights, we've got Death Watch. All to talk about in the Galaxy of War tonight. Mortal Realms, of course, is where it's all happening. The community have been popping out lots of the new rules, so Ben and I are going to talk about what we think of those so far. Also, got a little bit of a shout out to the Stormcast, the new podcast from Games Workshop, and some of the cool models as well we're going to see for Magic. Into the community section, sorry, I had to take a breath then. Into the community section, we've got a little bit of shouting out to do in there and a few AOS events to talk about that have happened. And then finally, into the wild. So those of you that follow us on Instagram and Twitter will have seen that I've started watching The Lord of the Rings today. And that is an indication of what's coming up in the wilds. I also played some Blood Bowl. If I see any more ones on dice 2 times in a row, I'm going to just throw them out the window. I'm not going to lie. And some scenery to talk about as well. So a packed show. I will try and remember to breathe. Thank you very much for joining us. And we shall go on to the hobby desk.
Hi guys, and welcome to the hobby desk. We've been at this for 1 whole year, which is pretty incredible. I don't think we should bore everyone with a retrospective of
what you mean is we only realised that about 5 minutes ago, and we haven't prepared for a retrospective.
Well, no, it'd be easy to do, really. You only think about it. So, mine's a bit more diverse, but Dan's painted Khorne.
Yes, I've painted Khorne.
And
you have painted a bunch of very misled Space Marines in blue-grey power armour.
Space Wolves, Iron Jaws, Necromunda and Blood Bowl. But largely Dan's painted Khorne.
I've also painted Blood Bowl. I didn't paint Necromunda. Yeah. You painted that for me. I painted some Silver Tower.
You have painted some Silver Tower.
I branched out a bit there.
But these are exceptions rather than rules.
Yes, they are. I did paint one Nurgle guy in our Tale of Many Gamers Part 2.
Oh, well, yeah.
In which you painted an entire sort of 1,500 point army, but
did you,
even with upgrades, I can't stretch him to 1,500 point.
Did you see what Ross called Khorne Red today?
Yeah. Damn Jolly Red. Nice. We should bring out a line of just red. So all I'll sell is red.
So you've been on it this week, haven't you?
Yeah, well, the last couple of weeks since Warhammer Fest, I have been working away. So my Orc team, the team that you get in the box, as well as the 2 squig balls and 2 normal balls, are painted now and finished. And I've even played a game with them painted as well. So
they looked fab.
Thank you. I'm really pleased. I used Duncan's guide, I've said a few times. Just tried to follow that throughout. I think one thing I would take away though is, I have always been, a sucker for just using the washes straight out of the pots. And especially over the lighter colours, moving forward, I'm trying to sort of, 50-50 the washes a bit. So specifically, I did Rakar Flesh as a base coat for the trousers. And when I then washed over that with Agrax Earthshade, it was just so dark. It gave none of the benefit that a base normally does.
Yeah.
Because when I went back over the top of it, it was just like painting over a black undercoat again.
Did you? You should always water those down with lime medium. That is worth saying. Or in fact, I don't know what they're like with air cast thinner. If I have a dry paint pot, I use air cast thinner to water it down, and that's 100 times better than water.
Yeah.
So I should imagine that would work quite well for the washes too. But if you water them down with water, I find that I get that white in the crack problem.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know why. I've heard all sorts of reasoning for it. Whether the water's hard or soft, or whether there's paint particles in the water, or
it's just weird magic. That's all. I
think it is just weird chemistry that I don't think anyone apart from the guys who made it really know what it is. Regardless, I agree. I think Agrax Earthshade is a really versatile colour, and if you can water it down over Rakarth, you'll get a much better result.
That's good. Oh my goodness. So Harriet said to me earlier that she'd bring me a cup of coffee, so she got a shout out. But I got the coffee early, but she's now bought me some mini Kinder chocolate eggs. So definitely a shout out. That's awesome. So yeah, awesome. Right, anyway, Kinder eggs are there. So the Orc team are done.
And I really like them, dude. I've got to say, I think they're superb. And the photographs really don't do them justice. Having a look at the one you'd finished at Warhammer Fest, it was really beautiful.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. I'm actually most pleased with the bases because I managed to get them to blend quite nicely with the neoprene orc pitch.
Really do. They really, really do.
Yeah. So I was quite pleased with that. And most importantly, I got to put a couple of little skulls on the bases and paint them up, just so I didn't get ill, missing out.
Well, you went for a red team and put skulls on the base. I can see it.
It's not predictable in any way, is it? And I have built the troll, which was just as crazy as you said it would be to build. By part 3, I got out the 360-degree image off Games Workshop website to work out where it went. I've built
19 pieces.
I know, it's mad. It's a beautiful model, mine. Really nice model.
It is.
Again, pictures don't help.
No, they don't, do they? I mean, I was just about to say, it's one of those models. I mean, we often talk about a model in person is completely different from the photographs, but that one is so different. It's so much better in person.
I think it's difficult to fully appreciate the pose, like what he's actually doing, from a picture. So, because where he's sort of leaning into that, or leaning back, sort of spooling up the throw for the goblin. So he's built, I've built a couple more Black Orcs and a couple more Blitzers, because you can have 4 of each in a team, in an Orc team. I've built...
And you can't have too many of those Blitzer models.
No, they're lovely. And I've built Varag Ghoul Chewer, the special character, or star player, sorry, that I picked up. And I've got 4 goblins as well, because you can have 4 goblins. And actually, funnily, and this comes straight from a game, a match I played recently, I'm painting up 2 more balls, one that goes on the basis of the model and one that's on a base of its own, because Tom played a card on me which created a clone of the ball. So we were playing with 2 balls, and you didn't know until you scored a touchdown which ball was the real ball.
Oh, that's cool.
So I need another ball. So
is that something the elves can do, is it?
No, that's just a miscellaneous mayhem or something like that, one of the special play cards.
Okay, yeah.
So that come in the starter box. Oh, I'd say the starter box, the box game. So that's quite cool why I've ended up doing that. And actually, this is a good point to say, I've magnetized the balls that go on the bases of my models, because I know they've got the little peg, but it's too much of a faff, I found, picking the model up and working the peg in. So I just put a little magnet on the bottom, to hold that in place.
I am seriously considering doing that. The snotling ball is a pig to get on bases. It's so big, it doesn't fit on anything.
Well, mine's a real bugger to get on a base because it's run off. Because I cannot find it to save my life. I'm sure I had it, but goodness knows where it's gone. So probably running around on the floor somewhere. Anyway, that's Blood Bowl, and then downstairs in the front room, I've now taken my painting sort of workstation, I suppose, downstairs, and then I've drilled a hole in my sofa, which is a funny story. Harriet thought we had a mouse. Genuinely thought, because where I drilled through, I'd sort of cut the sofa lining. I should say at this point, the sofa is a really old sofa that was given to us. It's not like I haven't gone down to DFS, bought a new sofa and thought, oh, I'm going to mount a lamp in that. Not that would necessarily have stopped me, if I'm fair.
I was going to say that wouldn't have surprised me if you'd done that either.
But Ben the bass came round and he was there, and Harriet noticed this hole, and she said to me later, I didn't tell you when Ben was here because I thought it'd look awful if we had a mouse, but I think we've got a mouse. And it's where I drilled this hole, and everybody else knew about it because I'd put the picture on Facebook, but Harriet doesn't really go onto social media. So anyway, I can mount the lamp now, sit there, and just for doing base coats, so I'm working on 18 Reavers, blood Reavers from Age of Sigmar, just with the standard Reaver blades. I've got 36 painted, I'm working on 18, and I've got another 30 odd to do after that.
Ugh.
And that's just the sort of Reaver blade ones, and then I want to get 40 with the meat ripper axes, but that's for another time. So that's my sofa project. And then 5 Skull Reapers are a fair way through. I've been fortunate. I had a couple of days annual leave, put in a couple of later nights to get these guys. I'm just working on the skin. Am I working on the skin?
How did that go?
No, actually, I've moved off the skin now. I'm doing the bone bits. How did that go? Yeah, so as a bit of sort of backstory, I mean, people will have seen or may have seen the images. I decided to have a go at some different skin tones. So just to mix it up a little bit, really. And what I'm going to do as I move into the Blood Reavers, because all of them that I've painted so far, all 50, have all got the same sort of standard Caucasian skin tone. So after that, I'm going to paint batches. Like I'll do like 15 with a really dark skin tone and 15 with a really pale skin tone, I think.
Yeah.
And then just mix them through. Which has been good, actually. I mean, you gave me a good recipe for a dark skin tone with Rhinox. Is it Rhinox hide? Yeah. Rhinox hide, Doomball brown highlight, then the Reichland flesh shade wash, and then Tuskor fur. So really happy with that. Looks really nice. And actually, I think I said to you, didn't I? I was being silly. It's a lot quicker to paint than any other skin tone, to be fair, which is nice.
It is very good. Yeah.
And then I've got one that's the really pale tones, and I've just used the guide off the Citadel painting app. And I've put that wash that you mentioned of Screamer Pink over it, and it has worked. It's knocked back the sort of starkness a little bit, which is nice. But I always think varnish, you got to get the varnish on, pull it all together. So he looks good. And then the other ones are just your sort of standard Bugman's Glow. Again, the Citadel. I use the Citadel painting app for a lot of things, to be honest.
I don't really use it.
I don't know if I should repeat what you said, but a box art insert exclusive here is what you said.
Keep it PG. Keep it PG.
Is what you said of me. So, yeah. So I use it quite a bit. But yeah, that's where I'm to. So yeah, a lot more been done, really. It's been quite nice. The Skull Reapers aren't far off, to be honest, and I say this every time I'm doing a project and then I don't necessarily do it, but it is my intention at the moment to actually do the blood and do the proper snow bases, little flowers, and really do this unit properly. Because
if you don't start doing it as you go along, you're going to really struggle. Because you're going to have to go back and do so many units.
Well, and also, it's part of, and you've already told me off for this, but it's part of me and Ben the base. Tom was going to do it, but I think his Astrea super heavy tank has understandably distracted him. But we're doing a little Age of Sigmar slow grow thing, and this month we're supposed to paint a unit of infantry with the infantry keyword, and a hero. So those guys are my infantry, and then I'm going to try and get my Lord of Khorne done. But I have to
us for the last year. I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to do a year.
I don't want you to interrupt because I know what's coming. I know what's coming.
Well, everyone who listened to this for the last year will go, now, so how come Dan is painting a slow grow / Tale of Many Gamers / Malign Portents with some other dudes, but won't do it with Ben? That's what they're all saying. Any answers?
Because, yeah.
Yeah, poor. That's what it is. It's poor. It's downright.
No, to be
lazy.
fair, right? To be fair, Ben doesn't have, and let me finish before you jump in. Ben doesn't have an Age of Sigmar army at the moment. And you...
Neither did I!
What did I just say to you? What did I just say to you? Don't interrupt until I finish. And you... can drive... Well, to be fair, Ben could probably... I don't have a reason.
No, I didn't think so. Right, moving on.
So anyway, so the reason I've got to properly do these is because Ben's just boshed out a Namati Reaver guy on a flipping awesome sea base. And it makes my Khorne look like Joshua painted them, which if you've seen the video this week...
he might well have done.
Yeah. Yeah, he can start his base coating. The funny thing is, after that video, it ended up all up my arm and everywhere, and he thought it was hilarious. He was just laughing his head off as red paint going everywhere, and I'm going, this has gone terribly wrong! So that's my hobby desk. And, yours has got some flipping lovely looking Marines on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've been sticking to my schedule, actually. I sat down when I finished the Malign Portents army and wrote a bit of a painting schedule. And so far, it's been really useful because it's kept me on track and motivated. I have to say, these Space Wolves are the hardest thing I've had to do. Because the Primaris are seriously nice models, but there is a lot more edges to fine highlight, and it's just killing me. So I did finish the 15th one today.
What edge highlighting? You finished the edge highlighting, or they completely finished?
Yeah, I finished the edge highlighting on the armor.
Is this a batch of 15 or 10? It's 10 you're working on,
no,
now, isn't it?
So I did the first 5, and I'm now just doing the second lot as a 10. So I started with the airbrush, did a grey primer base, and then washed them with 50/50 Agrax and Nightshade. Not Agrax, sorry, Nuln Oil and Nightshade. And then went back in with Rust Grey until I got a nice flat look to it. And then Zenithed it with the Air Fenrisian Grey, which isn't as bright as the Fenrisian Grey from the normal range. If I'm going to do characters, I might then go back in with Blue Horror or something like that. Or maybe even use the old Space Wolf Grey, because that's quite bright. But anyway, I haven't made my mind up yet. And that I think that looks really nice, actually. A bit greyer, perhaps, because I've missed out the Fang. I did a test one where I used the Fang spray and did the same, and it comes out much bluer. But I quite like the slightly grey look to it.
Have you got much Space Wolf Grey?
I've got one pot.
Because I was just going to suggest that you... Obviously, I mean, Blue Horror would be the best place just because it's easily available. But if you wanted closer to Space Wolf Grey, maybe try out that... I've forgotten their name. That's awful, isn't it? What was that painting?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Did a little shout out
well, let's bring that back at the end. I'll give you a chance to go and look at it, because I think we should give those a proper shout out, because they're quite interesting.
Yeah.
So while I'm talking, you can have a look. So they're mostly done now, the armour. 5 are already done, and people seem to like those, so I was quite chuffed with them. A lot cleaner than I normally do, because the armour plates and moving away from the Necromunda grungy kind of look. And And in between those, I airbrushed a flat of Balthazar Gold across all of my Stormcast and the Khorne from the Age of Sigmar box set, because I figured I ought to try and get that done before they release a new one, or at least get it along the way. And did a test model of the armoured Khorne dudes, whatever they are, which didn't take very long at all. So I was quite chuffed with that. So I'll probably
Blood Warriors,
be able to knock.
You mean, don't you?
Yeah, that's the badger. I'll probably be able to knock that unit out in an evening, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because I'm not intending to spend hours on them. I just wanted them to look Khorne-like, and I think that came across quite well.
Well, they're red, so that's a good start. Well, they're red because of all the blood.
Well, no, they're reddish as well. So I've used the red glaze and I've used red wash over the Balthazar. So I did get some Tamiya clear to have a mess around with, but I kind of chickened out. I kind of chickened out. So, yeah, that's me. Not a long list, but it's been a lot of work, actually.
Well, it takes a long time, doesn't it, for you to get all that edge highlighting done.
I've got 2 pairs of reading glasses that I bought from Asda, a plus 0.5 and a plus 2, because if I'm painting for a long time, especially at the end of the day, when I've had a busy day, and I have to look at a computer all day, my eyes get quite tired. So to give them a rest, I use those glasses, and I do find that the plus 2 really helps for doing detail work. But yesterday I went from my normal vision to the plus 0.5 within like 3 hours. And the whole evening I was painting with the plus 2s because my eyes just couldn't tolerate fine highlighting anymore.
It's funny, I was thinking about that because it's something that I've never, maybe it's because I don't paint, those sort of fine edge highlights, but I've never really struggled with, I can't paint anymore because my eyes are tired. Like, I might personally just fall asleep on the desk.
Yeah.
But, Instar they're called. I remember
now.
That's
ideal time.
Which, it's a shame actually on their part that it's so difficult to find them on Google. I only found them because I'd liked them on Facebook. So, I thought it'd be cool. Sorry dude, you do it again. Are you done?
No, it's all right because I am done.
Okay.
Like I said, it's not a big list, but it was a lot of work.
Cool. So Instar Paint. So little bit from. We'll obviously make sure these guys are in the show notes, and I think I've shared them on our page before, actually, Facebook page, but we'll do it again. So welcome to Instar. If you're not aware of our major project, we felt that a large number of the community wanted some of the old colours from Citadel range available again, including those that are extremely rare. So essentially what they're doing is remaking all the old paints, and they're actually asking for people to send them swatches or even the pots of paint to colour match to. And they do... What I really like is they do so many different sizes. So all the way from a 2mm pot for you to try it out. And I think they go up to a 250mm pot.
Yeah.
Possibly. So it's really good.
And the Tale of Painters, is it the Tale of Painters?
Yeah, did a Dark Angel.
Yeah, he did a really good review on them, actually, so it's worth going and have a look at that. And we'll pop those in the show notes if I can get the show notes done in time, because I'm really rubbish at doing them at the moment.
When you say you're really rubbish, you've got a fair bit going on, dude.
Yeah, perhaps. So we'll try and get the link out, or Dan can put the link out for that when he does the post, because that is a really good review from a person who paints a lot and knows what they're talking about when it comes to paints, rather than two dudes in a shed. So...
Hey, I'm not in a shed.
One of the things he did say, though, is that there's a lot of pigment in them. They cover really, really well, and they flow really well. Oh,
sorry. I just want to correct myself. So they do 100mm, 50mm, 20mm, 10mm, and 5mm, and a 2mm. Those are the sizes, just to be...
with their own unique dropper bottle.
Yeah.
Which the guy from Taylor Painters liked as well.
Yeah. And they also match the current paint range as well. And they are cheaper as well. But lots of reasons to try them. I actually haven't yet, which is a shame. I really must do that. But anyway, yeah, that's Instar.
Yeah, and I think with that kind of wraps up the hobby desk, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is my hobby, this is Ben's hobby, and here's some hobby stuff. We've not tried it, but we wanted to chat about it.
Well, yeah. I think it's interesting because let's focus on it a little bit to make it a bit more worthwhile. For me, I've got a load of colours on the shelf and I'm looking at them, and I know, for example, Tommy Sewell, he really likes snakeback leather for his non-metal metallics in gold. So to be able to have something that's colour matched and is a good paint to all of those old ranges, I think that's pretty useful, if nothing else. And because, for example, here's a good example. I would really like to do. I've got a whole bunch of second edition models, including the old metal Beyond the Fell-Handed, a metal land speeder. Thank you, Marcus. Thanks. Best Christmas present. One of my favourite models ever. And the second edition starters kit. And I want to do them, Space Wolf, obviously. Because I want to do them as I would have done them if I could when I was a child and was into that. So I was like a 10 or 12-year-old. So I'm going to probably do them using Space Wolf Grey and Shadow Grey. And I've got some, possibly enough to do them, but they're not in the best of quality. I mean, the Space Wolf Grey has got like paint crumbs all the way through it because it's dried out at the edges and then been mixed in. So either I could filter them through and spend an hour, repairing them, or I've now got an option where I can go, let's have a look at the Instar stuff and get a few samples and see whether they work. And I'm sure there's people out there who have done old projects that they might want to add to, but the paints that they used are gone.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really useful tool to have. I think they're into a winner for that old market because there are some colours which I just don't think the new range have. Dwarf Flesh being a good one.
Brazen Brass. That's one.
Brazen Brass, yeah, that's another popular one. So, good on them. I probably will give them a shot. I wonder if they do the washes, because if they sold Devil and Mud, I think they might, get a few takers.
Yeah. We'll check them out and get back to them. Get back to the guys.
So there we go. Plans next?
So, what shall I do next? Oh, no, I know what I'm doing next. I'm painting, Mordor Orcs.
Are you?
Build me an army worthy of court. I mean Mordor. Mordor.
Amazing.
But we can talk about that in the wilds because Aragorn actually says, where are you going? And he's like, into the wilds. That's where it comes from. It's like my subconscious came up with that.
Excellent.
It's good, isn't it?
I will be doing Grimnar next, and the
Are you really? 1 year on?
Yeah. And the characters for from the Dark Imperium box set.
Oh yeah.
So that should be good fun.
Cool. I shall look forward to slaying Grimnar. Yeah,
last time he ploughed through about 30 of those red demon things with the big banana heads.
Last time, big banana heads. I don't know what to say to that. I really just want. I've got in my head now one in yellow, and the theme song of Bananas in Pyjamas coming down the stairs, but with a blood letter. That's kind of sinister, actually.
Yes, it is.
Let's move on, dude. Let's move on.
Right, well, you shall see you all in Galaxy of War.
Welcome back, listeners. We have fired some thrusters that have enabled us to navigate our way into this grim and dark galaxy of war. I have had a glass of water, a can of Diet Coke, and a coffee so far for refreshments. So I'm sorry I haven't said get some refreshments. I've been focused completely on my own needs. And forgotten.
So
all
if we hear a
so
crash and you're running, it's because you need a wee.
Yeah, it could be that. Or it could be all those paints falling off the shelf again that scared the life out of me in an episode a couple of episodes back. So anyway, the Galaxy of War, Ben. So lots of things going on. So I think the first thing, we'll go for something colourful.
Which
is the Harlequins. So those guys are out now. Codex is available. No new miniatures from this one. Just the Codex. But nonetheless, a load more stuff crammed in there, background-wise, and also rules-wise. So they've gone with the traits thing again, dude. Seems to be quite a theme at the moment for customization.
Yeah, I like it.
It's quite exciting. I suspect what you'll see when the Wolves Codex comes along is some quite different feels to the different great companies.
I'm hoping so, because they are really different.
It'd be nice, wouldn't
really,
it?
really different.
You'd need to collect multiple different great companies then, though.
Yeah, I'm aware of this.
So yeah, they've gone for that. They've called them mask forms. And I did have a brief look through them, and I picked out one that I really liked, which is the Veiled Path. Theirs is called Riddlesmiths. And essentially, at the beginning of the fight phase, you roll 2 dice, discard the highest dice, and then any rolls after modifiers that your opponent makes when rolling to hit that are the same as the dice that you've got that you haven't discarded are discounted.
I love that. I think that's so good.
It's brilliant. So
because that could be utterly useless.
I thought that was quite fun.
But it could be spectacular.
It could be spectacular.
Because if they're hitting on a 3+, say, a 1 or 2, nah. But if your lowest dice is
it depends how funny the Harlequin god, the laughing god, is feeling. I suppose.
Yeah, I love it. It's really fickle. Very good. Very good.
What is his name? He's got what's he called? Kigorak or something.
Kigorak or something. Yeah, I don't know.
We're not good with the standard names, are we? So
pretty much.
It's probably not going to go well with us trying to work out that one.
No.
But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Only £20 as well, that Codex.
Yeah, the Deathwatch one was 25. But
I don't think it's massive though. I think it's only 88 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
Your Deathwatch one was £25 and it turned your world upside down.
It did, brilliant. It did. So all of the pages were upside down to the cover, which completely threw me. I nearly kept it actually. I think if it had been a Zeech book and it had been like that, I'd have kept it. But because I just think it's fantastic. But as it was, I've got it swapped, so I didn't have as much time to read it as I'd hoped. But I've always really liked the Harlequins, always. Possibly because in the old War Gear book, so when you bought second edition, for those who didn't know, you got 3 books: the rule book, Codex Imperialis, which was kind of a background book, and the War Gear book. And in the War Gear book, in the hand-to-hand combat section, right opposite Lightning Claws, which I quite often went to, was Harlequin Kiss. And and it struck me right from that point onwards, I suppose. So the Harlequin Kiss is used only by the Eldar Harlequins, and its Eldar name means Kiss of Evil. It's a tubular weapon that straps on the back of the forearm. By punching forward, the Harlequin activates the weapon and releases a tightly curled, 100-metre long monofilament wire, a wire only 1 molecule thick. If the tip of the weapon touches the enemy, the wire filament pierces armour and flesh and instantly uncoils inside the victim's body. Within the space of a heartbeat, the enemy's insides are reduced to the consistency of soup, and the wire whips back into the Harlequin Kiss. That's amazing.
Nice.
So from that point onwards, I was a bit intrigued.
It's interesting. So I started getting into the hobby a little bit after you, beginning of 3rd edition. So for me, Harlequins were a total enigma for that time.
They were actually 3rd edition. They kind of disappeared. Yeah.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
So, and then they sort of started reappearing in around 4th edition. I think you could definitely have a solitaire. I seem to remember one beating me up. But anyway, now that they're around, for me, it's a little bit like the same way I feel about the heresy, and how it was this kind of mythical thing, and they've opened that can of worms.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting seeing it.
Well, part of my feeling for them has been that they were actually really difficult models to do justice. So there were supposed to be these dancing jester-like creatures. And the models for them in 2nd edition were really static. Legs shoulder width apart, arms in the air, kind of classic old Games Workshop model. And, but now the plastics are just superb. I mean, there's no way to understate or overstate, how superb they are. I'd be very, very tempted to do an army of Harlequins just for the challenge of painting them. But
do you have a favourite miniature from Harlequin?
I love the Death Jester.
That's mine.
Oh, he's just so sinister. They're like kind of perched like some kind of raven overlooking the battlefield. Yeah, I love him. Absolutely. I liked him when he was the metal model. Because they released the metal Harlequins. 6th edition, maybe? When we were staff members. And, because everyone in the store was supposed to paint one to form a squad. And so we all went away and took a Harlequin with them. And then Luggins here brought back his painted Harlequin and no one else had. So I was dead chuffed about that.
Another painting project amongst the staff of Games Workshop that was held up by Benjamin
held
Paul.
Up. Thanks, man. So
not held up as in like held back, as in you were the only one that got anything done.
Yeah. Well, so I've got some of those metal ones as well, actually, which I'd quite like to put in. But they've got so many cool things now, like the jet bikes and stuff, and I think they would be a really cool army to do. And I vividly remember. And I couldn't tell you who painted it or when they painted it, but the Harlequin Wraith Lord, one that won Golden Demon right back when I first started.
With they put the jet bike front.
Yes, they had.
Head.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So
they, some cool stuff. There's a couple of other good bits I wanted to just bring out. So, in the bit about background for them and like the different wars they fought, there's a good one called the Mockers War. And essentially the Death Jesters sort of started this game as to who could cause the most ironic death, amongst the enemy. And it culminated, with 500 Skitari being crushed inside their own void shield. When they managed to sort of overload it and make it collapse in on itself.
Brilliant.
So I thought that was quite funny.
I bet they didn't.
No, I'm sure they didn't. No, and then I thought, well, I'll have a quick look. There's some good stuff on the markings actually for the vehicles and things.
Yeah.
Good stuff on that. Yeah, the different sort of lots of diamonds, as you can imagine. There's a really nice army actually in Warhammer World that doesn't use all the diamond patterning. Because it's an army, like you said, where it's hard to do justice to the miniatures, but it's also hard to do justice to the painting.
Yeah.
But I think if you use the right sort of styles and colours, you can do different. You can do them justice without having to go diamonds everywhere.
I'd be quite interested to see what Green Stuff World's iridescent paint looked like on a unit of. You know that iridescent paint they released? That changes colour with the direction you look at it?
Yeah, I do know, mate. It's just Harriet's come in and she's obviously doing some kind of craft because she's asking me if I've got any glue to stick pom-poms onto things.
Amazing.
So, and actually, being a hobbyist, I regularly like sticking pom-poms onto things.
Yep. So you do.
I have got some, so I've passed that on now. So that's done. Right, back to Harlequins. So, it'd be interesting to see what that paint is like on them, I suppose.
Well, I'm just thinking of quick ways to do it, and that's one.
Yeah, that is one. Yeah. Black and white. I've just seen an army in the Codex, black and white.
I've seen a stunning one in grayscale.
Ooh. Yeah, but that sounds like it's going back to complicated.
Have you got the codex? Have you?
Yes.
Good for you.
I downloaded it on the iPad earlier because I wanted to talk about it because it looked cool. So I downloaded it and
it is cool.
And it is cool. Yes. Shout out for the Suit of Hidden Knives, which is an enigma of the Black Library, I think they're called, or something like that. Which is basically their sort of relic weapons, and it's a suit with loads of psychocrystalline blades that pop in and out of it. And essentially, when the enemy rolls to hit you, if they roll a 1, you then roll a dice, and on a 2+, their unit takes a mortal wound as they slice themselves on your armour. So yeah, few snippets from the Harlequin Codex. Obviously, we know that people don't come here for those solid and in-depth tactical reviews, thank goodness. Or if they do, they don't listen to another episode.
So true.
But, yeah. But I thought it'd be cool just to pick out a couple of interesting bits that I saw when I went through. So, on sort of the opposite end of the spectrum to small, leaping around, dancing, not very resilient things, the new knights are on their way.
They are.
Stomping their way through. So we've seen a special character.
That really surprised me.
I loved it.
I don't know why that surprised me. That completely took me by surprise. Of all the things that I thought that they would do, a special character wasn't one of them. Really wasn't. And yet, it's so good.
No, I can't say I thought of a special character being one of them, to be honest.
So good. I love the fact that you've got the pilot in the seat and the pilot out the seat, and yeah, fab. Love it.
Well, you can use him. If his knight gets destroyed, you can keep using him on foot.
Yeah, but that's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, surely.
Yeah, but it's still cool. I mean, especially if, I love the idea, like a bloodthirster comes up, has a big fight with the knight, smashes it, but it's on like 1 wound, and then he falls out and shoots it in the groin with his pistol and it dies. That'd just be gold.
I really want that to happen.
It will be gold. And that reminds me, because once, when I was playing my mate Chris, he had Imperial Guard, and he had a lone guardsman shot and killed my avatar, who was on 1 wound.
Amazing.
So, it happens. So yeah, we've seen that, and the community team have thrown up some really nice pictures of all the stuff that has somehow leaked onto the internet, moments after it appeared, which is nice to see. So we've got the big knight, what is it called? Well, there's a knight Castellan and a knight something else that are made out of the same kit, and they're basically festooned with guns.
And they're massive.
And one is more close.
Like absolutely huge. I didn't realise how much bigger that they were. And they're a good couple of inches on the normal knight.
Oh, did you see in that article, actually, they're bringing back the Renegade box set?
Yeah, they changed the scenery in it. With
a more up-to-date bit of scenery.
Do you reckon that that's going to be the same price as it was?
Well, it says it's going to save you even more money, so that would suggest that it will be the same.
Because 100 quid, wasn't it?
I think so.
It was an absolute steal for 2 nights and a piece of scenery. Like, I don't think Games Workshop has done a better bargain since then.
No.
Really wish I'd got my hands on it. So I think that's going to be a big seller, because I would probably consider picking one of those up to get just 2 nights. Because then...
Oh, it will sell. I mean, it sold before. It just flew out the door last time. There's also a very, very, very nice combat gauge.
Oh, that is such a good nice... Oh, yes, I completely agree. I'm having that.
Whoa, Ben just got more excited than I did.
I saw that today, just before we started recording. I was like, I need that. I need 6 of those. I don't know. I don't need reasons. I just need them.
They are amazing. They are amazing. It's really
I'll wear
nice.
them like a wolf tooth necklace of combat gauges.
Well, I hope we get some more of them. I'd like one that's a corn symbol.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about in the past, not on the podcast but in person, is that we really like the gubbins you get in the Blood Bowl team sprues. So the extra Ujima flips that work for the turn tokens and various other things like that. It really wouldn't be difficult for Games Workshop to stick combat gauges or other little gubbins into the sprues of Age of Sigmar or 40k troop choices so that you could have a combat gauge. I mean, okay, it might not be perfectly accurate by the time you've filed it down and whatnot, but I'd still use it. I'd still be happy for other people to use theirs.
Yeah, but, you just can't be bothered to simply play by the rules, can you?
No, I can't, apparently.
That has no relevance to anyone listening, but it does to me.
So, I'm really excited by that release. It's added some things in that I didn't think that they would. Completely took me by surprise. So the special character is one of them. The piece of scenery is another. Like the docking thing, so you can use it defensively to, boost your tank, your knight's defenses, or offensively. I think that's really cool because that goes back to the things we're saying about army-specific scenery. We love that idea.
I really like the idea of building a scenario around that, where you have one of those massive-ass knights that's obviously rearming.
Yeah.
And then each turn, like a different weapon system comes back online as it sort of gets more stuff put into it. And the enemy is like trying to take it out. Or even there's a scenario in the 40k rulebook where in the centre of the battlefield is something you've got to blow up.
Yeah.
Imagine that knight in its docking station, and each turn its sort of power level is growing, getting closer, and then you've got, chaos cultists, because they're obviously really sneaky, sneaking in and trying to plant melter bombs on it, but the power level's growing on this knight, and if they don't do it in time, it sort of comes up and it just goes into full power mode. It's like blowing the 7 bells out of them. Oh.
That would be wicked. That would be really cool.
I need one of those knights now just to do that.
That would be cool.
That would be amazing, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if we've seen the whole set of releases. I suspect that that's it now. I don't think we're going to see any more. We'll be really interested to see that knight in person because in the pictures it is vast. So it's quite exciting.
It's got some real bulk to it, hasn't it?
It does, yeah. It does still look like a walking gun platform, but the more angles I see of it, the more I like it.
I'm not sure. I know we always say this about seeing things in person. The little gun turrets on the shoulders look a bit odd.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To me.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that.
Like a little bit like somebody's photoshopped them on for a joke.
Yeah, like that repulsor that...
Yeah, like the repulsor that somebody did and did actually Photoshop loads of guns on for a joke. But we will see. We will see when it comes along.
So, can I have a little chat about my Deathwatch?
You can have a little chat about your Deathwatch.
So Deathwatch, the Deathwatch release, which is pre this podcast, last year. Was it last year? It was last year. Was probably the thing that dragged me back into 40k because the idea of a Deathwatch Codex, which have always been one of my favourite concepts from 40k, really excited me. And the fact that you could mix in all sorts of different things into a unit really, really excited me because I've got a fairly extensive Bix box, as anyone who's been playing for 25 years does. And I don't really think I'm ever going to use a lot of it to make an army, but I could use a lot of my Space Marine bits to make a Deathwatch army. So I did. Not painted yet, but I did. And this new book is just taking that on into bringing it up to date because obviously we've now got the Primaris, which is quite cool. Little bits of background in it that are just making things up to date. So, Gilliman loved the Deathwatch. I don't think it ever occurred to me that Gilliman would never have been around when the Deathwatch were formed because they would have been formed in the War of the Beast, weren't they?
Yeah, and actually, for anyone that hasn't read or listened to the War of the Beast, it's very worth listening to. There are a couple of weaker books, but in general, very good. And the creation of the Deathwatch, particularly, actually, Ben, the interaction between the Space Wolf and Dark Angel in one of the squads, which is like a classic one, and a couple of other ones where it's interaction between different chapters and their traits, and how they all end up working together. It's ace.
Because that's one of the things I love about the Deathwatch, and I loved about the new Codex, is it really explored that idea that when they all come together, they're all really different, and they're all really kind of proud of where they've come from, and they kind of almost strip a lot of that back and say, you're going to get to know each other. You're going to deal with whatever issues you have, and once you've done that, then you're going out as a kill team, so you better get it sorted. And then, as a result, they really start to learn from each other and pick up the pros and cons of everyone's fighting style. Of course, the Primaris have been doing that as part of the Grey Shields for the first parts of the Crusade. So they're probably more used to it than others. But Gilliman really liked the idea of the Death Watch. Has made it written into the law that all the new Primaris chapters have to give a tithe to the Death Watch. And then sent out a whole bunch of the more suited Primaris to augment and bolster the existing Death Watch. So that explains how they're in it. And their squad, the Fortis squad, is pretty tasty, I think, Dan.
So that's what I meant to ask you, actually. Is it the case that... So can you mix Primaris and Standard Marines in it? Or are they a separate... They have their own squad?
So basically, the way they've done it is they've given you kind of a backbone unit. So you can have them as standard squads. So you can have a 5-man veteran squad, or a 5-man intercessor squad, or a 5-man... or 3-man aggressor squad. You can do all of those things, but the kind of teams, the kill teams, the backbone is either a veteran or an intercessor, and then if it's a veteran squad, you can add in either more veterans, Terminators, Bikers, or Vanguards. And in the intercessors, you can add in more intercessors, Hellblasters, Inceptors, Reavers, or aggressors. The intercessor squads are going to win on this one because there's some seriously wicked combinations you could do with that. With the aggressor giving you that real close range base of fire, the Hellblasters, the extra firepower, and the Reavers add in a fair few little extra bits and pieces as well, which are quite cool. I'm not going to go through them all, but it's really cool. Really like it. I can't wait to mess around with them. And one of the cool things about them is you don't necessarily have to paint them as a squad. You can paint them as a Death Watch, and then sort of mill around with them and get the ones that you like, the outcome that you like, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
By mixing and matching. So I'm really excited about that. I was thinking of giving them a go in the Iron Sleet kind of style. It's a bit Blanche, not quite Blanche, but a bit Blanche, because like Clotey does his Renegade Space Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using the Primaris, but because the artwork in there is really, really nice, really gritty. So I want to try and emulate some of those things. In many ways, Dan, because I can't be bothered to fine highlight black armor across an army.
Well, yeah.
So I'll have a look around to see if I can find an alternative. But yeah, so Death Watch really. So actually, a couple of days ago,
can they take repulsors?
Yeah, they can take the lot. Yeah, repulsors.
Oh.
Both different kinds of dreadnoughts. It's a Space Marine army, effectively, with those kill team options in there. Yeah, so they can take the Dreadnought, the Redemptor, they can take all of the squads, and then the different sorts of Land Raiders, Rhinos, Drop Pods, Corvus Blackstar, which is a superb model.
So can that transport Primaris?
Oh, crikey, that's a very good question. Can it transport Primaris? Where would it say that?
In its entry, it will say what it can carry.
This model can transport 12 Deathwatch infantry models, each with each jump pack or Terminator. It cannot transport Primaris. Oh, fail! Don't like that. Sorry, really don't like that. They need to bring out an alternative to the Drop Pod / Corvus Blackstar. That's a real letdown, actually. Why did you have to go and mention that?
Sorry, dude. Because it sprung into my head. That is fantastic, Harriet. That is totally... Harriet has just made... Sorry, guys, because I know this is the third mention now of what's going on here, but she's made a caterpillar that's on a clothes peg.
A jigsaw.
That's amazing. So I'll take a photo of that and we'll get that in the show notes.
Excellent.
That's great. Bit of random hobby.
That's not hobby, that's a toddler group.
So, well, actually, it's for a toddler group, apparently. I thought it was a bit of Harriet creativeness there. Hang on, I'll just take a photo of it. Right, back to the Galaxy of War then, after the cuddly
Thank you.
cuddly caterpillar. Random moment there. So, yeah, I'm sorry, mate. I had to mention it because I was thinking it.
Yeah.
And it really flipping frustrates me. It's just this, it's like that bloody episode all over again with the drop pods. It makes no sense that I maybe my brain can just about cope with the whole can't fit in a drop pod thing. Just because, and putting aside the fact that a Space Marine probably has the intelligence to retrofit one, they are bulkier and they might not fit in the restraints. But things like they can't go in Rhinos and Land Raiders. It's just ridiculous. It's like my mate turning up outside with his Audi, and because I'm a BMW driver, and I appreciate we've just lost at least 25% of the listeners in that comment, I go to get into it and I just can't get in. I'm just there like trying to get in and I just can't get in. Like not I can't open the door. I can open the door, but then I'm like, oh. It's just absurd. It's absurd.
It is absurd.
So, and if you do choose to unfollow or leave listening to the podcast because of my preference of vehicle, please let us know, because if it builds up enough, I will just go and buy something else.
That'd be better for everyone.
Like a push bike or something.
That'd be better for you.
That would be better for me. And they come without indicators. I don't actually have to take them off. So yeah, that's Deathwatch. I just flattened Ben's excitement about Deathwatch right at the end there. Sorry about that.
We can't finish on that note. We have to finish on a positive.
Okay, go on then.
I don't have one off the top of my... Oh!
Oh,
no,
he's crushed.
I do.
He's crushed.
And we can't leave it...
Go on.
Well, we couldn't. Rogue Trader, mate.
Oh, yeah. In all the excitement, I've completely forgotten about that.
That dropped just... I mean, we mentioned it a bit at Warhammer Fest, but just want to keep that burning in the background, because that looks so good. That can't have been dropped on purpose. I reckon that was a sneak from months ahead on the schedule, because they even mentioned about like a sneaky preview of it at Warhammer Fest. So yeah, really excited about that. Really, really excited. So kill teams. I'm now raring to go for kill teams. I'll be using a Deathwatch kill team, just but if it's a Primaris, they won't be in a Black Star. So
they won't be coming in a Black Star.
No. Right. My friend, it's time to go into the mortal realms.
Welcome to the Stormcast. Only joking. It's us. Sorry. Ben, laugh. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just me.
Oh,
brilliant!
No way did that sound like Data.
Not at all. So,
the Stormcast. So, in fact, basically, this whole section is pointless because Games Workshop has released Stormcast, which, having interviewed practically everybody who's written the rules in their first episode, go and watch that. Cause
whoa!
But if you want,
let's look out. If you went to a chip shop in Bodmin right now, you could not have salt on your chips because Ben has stolen it all.
I was going to say, if you'd like to hear our opinions on it, then you're in the right place.
So, have you listened to episode 1?
No.
No. So I have, and it was really cool. So they interviewed Pete Foley, and they also interviewed Jervis Johnson. So you had a bit about...
See, told you.
Yeah, that's everyone involved, those two.
Practically.
So Pete spoke about background to the realms and maps and cool things like that. And Jervis spoke a bit about rules and where some of the decisions had come from. So it's 16 and a half minutes long, about that. And so there's plenty of time to listen to your favourite P's outside of those 16 and a half minutes. So well worth a listen.
It's only 16 minutes. Dude, we can do an intro that takes 16 minutes.
Yeah, I cannot breathe for 16 minutes as my excitement takes hold. So, no, it's going to come out 3 times a week. It's quite nice, actually, because I like listening to AOS Shorts as well as a little...
Yes, yeah. Big shout out to AOS Shorts. It is really a very, very good Age of Sigmar podcast.
I do just want to say that I've only started listening to it since my last Age of Sigmar tournament, just so people don't kind of write off listening to that based on the fact that I was shocking.
In fact, because of your last Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, absolutely. Directly because. So it's a nice little one you can just slot in there. That's good. So worth listening to. So that's that, which is good. So on to what we think about the new rules. So there's been 6 so far, I believe, headings that the community team have put out. The most recent one being endless spells. But we've also had summoning, casting and unbinding, the lookout sir, command abilities, and the changes to turn priority. So a few different things. An actual proper shake-up seems to be going on, which I'm fine with. I've not heard anything I dislike so far. Ben, what do you want to do, dude? Should we sort of go through them? So start with turn priority and get your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, I've read them all. I haven't been playing long enough to have a really good idea of how they would impact into the game, but I've got some thoughts about all of them. So yeah, let's go through them one at a time. Turn priority.
So turn priority then. So the change there, off the top of my head is basically if you had priority in the previous turn and you roll a draw result on the roll off for priority, the person that had it gets to choose whether they keep it or not. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it is that way round. Either it is that way round or that is a yet another fantastic advert for listening to AOS Shorts where they get it right. So, so basically it gives you, if you are holding the priority, it gives you that little bit more likelihood that you will get to control it. I think the priority thing in Age of Sigmar is a really interesting one because some people loved it or love it.
It's so divisive. It really is. It's so divisive.
Yeah. I really like it. I just think it adds another level that you have to think about, tactically. Yeah. And I don't subscribe to this, you win or lose the battle on a single dice roll, because I think that can happen in a number of places and you just got to prepare for it.
Yeah, but you can win or lose the battle on a single dice roll, but you know it's there. You can choose to play it or not play it if you're playing in your own time anyway, but you know it's there, so why not slow down and think about how it might affect you? So it's certainly changed how I've played my Iron Jaws, thinking, oh crikey, I might get walloped again, so I'm not going to do that a little bit orky thing and leave them sort of stranded, because I can't guarantee that they're going to be able to be supported in the next turn. So I like it. It adds an extra level of depth, I think, but that's,
I like it as well, because also when you combine it with the scenarios and thinking about where you need to be, how early on do you want to capture things, do you want, for example, with, I think it's called Star Strike now, was Gifts from the Heavens. I don't know, that could all be wrong. Basically, the one where the objectives come in out of the skies, Dan Wasley will correct me anyway, so that's fine. You might not want the priority early on because there's nothing there to capture. Yeah. Whereas you might want to play for the double turn a bit later. And also there's the knife to the heart where you can sort of sudden death the game on turn 3. So you kind of want to get your double turn going from turn 2 into 3. So you want to set it up earlier on than that. Hey, it almost sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Definitely just been listening to AOS Shorts. That is straight out of listening to that. I have in no way played a game where I have put that into practice. So yeah, fast turn priority. So interesting change there. And then command abilities was the second one they put up. This is about trying to get more command abilities to the table and being used, which I'm all for. Basically,
and they've kind of trialled really with 40k, haven't they?
Yeah, they're using the sort of command points idea. It's somewhat different in that you generate them. I believe you get one every turn, anyway, which you can save up. You get one potentially for having a battalion, I think. And you get one for every 50 points less than the sort of points cap of the game that you take. So if you took 1900 points to a 2k event, you'd have an extra 2. And then you use those to use your command abilities. So whether we're likely to see some abilities that will cost more than 1 point that are more powerful, that's potentially something we'll see.
Yeah, I think the other cool thing about it is before you could only really use the command abilities of your general.
Yeah.
Now you can use anybody's command abilities, which is really, really wicked.
Yeah, it gives you a bit more choice. I'm interested to see how it works, like the idea of how many points you get, to see whether in reality you actually do end up using any other command abilities, or because you've only got 1 point a turn, you only use one anyway.
Yeah.
Then again, I suppose, even if you just get an extra one for 50 points less or a battalion, it just means you can set up that golden turn, doesn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect us to be swimming in command points, but I think it's going to change things a little bit. I think I'm expecting about two a turn.
Yeah.
Which would be nice.
It would be.
So another thing about the command abilities, Dan, is that they work as a pool, so they add on to your pool every turn, so you can save them up, which you didn't used to be able to do. So you can save up just the ones you generate, and you were talking like for your golden turn, but that means you could have a fair few going on all at once in one turn, using all of your different heroes, which could make a really dramatic difference. Say turn 3, you'd saved up. So you had a battalion, so there's 1,000-point army. So you had a battalion. So you've got 3, then you've got 4 command points you could use in one turn. That could be really decisive, especially if you were playing, say, Deepkin, and you've got like that magic sort of tide turn where you're hitting so hard that people's faces melt. If you get it,
turn 3, I think it is, isn't it? The Deepkin basically have the ability to always strike first.
So you could use 4 in that turn and really, really go to town.
I'd be interested to see if they do something like you can choose to use more command points on the same. So, for example, take the Inspire one, Inspiring Presence or whatever, where you can pick a unit within 12 inches. Make it so that that's 1 command point. But if you use 2 command points, that becomes 24 inches or becomes all units within 12, for example. It's just an example.
Well, also whether or not they'd stack from different places. So the same thing working twice from 2 different heroes?
Well, that's in the wording. That depends on the wording of things. Yeah.
So the next one is Lookout Sir, which I really, really like. Because I think a real drawback of Age of Sigmar is that you can pick out the characters, which is ironic considering the 40k rule and how popular that is.
So was this the same release that they mentioned that when you're shooting, you can only, if there's an enemy within 3 inches of you, you can only shoot at that enemy?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure that's this one, because you can't shoot, because at the moment, if you're in combat with someone, you can turn around and shoot someone else.
Yes, I think it is that was this one. Yeah.
Which Jervis actually talks about in Stormcast, because he says, like, people felt that broke the immersion.
Yeah, I think it does.
Which I completely agree with. That irritated me simply for that reason. It's interesting, actually, because with shooting, my perspective is always skewed because I play Dan so much.
Yeah.
Or as a percentage of the games I play, it's very high, the amount of times I play Dan, and his army is a ranged army.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively, not quite.
I'd be quite happy for someone like Sylvaneth, or rather the Wanderers, to have that ability, because they might well be good enough bowmen that they could choose to shoot someone who they're not in combat with. But for like an orc bowman to have the presence of mind to go, I'm not going to shoot at the dude trying to beat me around the face, I'm going to shoot at that unit over there, is absurd.
Yeah. So I like that change. The Lookout Sir change, Dan, interestingly, he said to me he thinks it's bigger than it seems on the surface because he feels that shooting armies will drop away in the meta. You won't see them as much because of the changes to targeting.
That's interesting.
But because I don't know yet, -1 to hit if your character was in 3 inches of the enemy. Very happy, pleased that they've done it. Like, it's nice to have something, but I just don't think it's not very much.
No, it's not.
I think it's easy to find the buffs to get around that. And obviously, you know, I have a vested interest in my characters not being shot because a Khorne army, you know, the characters really do bring up some of the chaff from being pretty rubbish to being able to compete.
But then at the same time, I think it's quite thematic because -1 to hit is saying if you're a good enough archer, you'd still be able to pick out the character. But if you're not, then you're going to struggle.
It is, to be fair, I think it is more immersive, if anything, or more themed than the 40k
Yes.
rule.
But then the 40k battlefield is significantly different. There's more dust, smoke, gunfire, the lot, everything. So
less flying sharks.
Less flying sharks, yeah.
Actually, on that note, I'm really sorry to the person that posted it. I hope you might even remember, but somebody posted a fantastic picture. I think it was a member of Games Workshop, where they had the Balewind Vortex and some of those Alapex kits, and they were just like, it's got to be done, and underneath was the DVD of Sharknado. And I just thought that was just fantastic.
Yeah, very good. The film's dire, but...
So Lookout Sir, some changes to shooting.
What was next?
Yeah, that's cool.
Casting and unbinding.
Yeah. So this one I liked, because I'm Khorne. So,
I've
couple
got
of things.
to admit,
so
before we start, I didn't read this one. I only briefly went over this, because I'm an orc, so...
Because you're an orc. Brrr. And you... So casting and unbinding, the key bits that I remember. So, Mystic Shield, instead of being +1 to your armor save, which is therefore stackable, is now reroll 1s when saving. So you know, it is not one that you can combine with loads of other stuff. Although there are other things, you know, that can bring your armor save to something like 2+ re-rolling 1s then, because of Mystic Shield. But it doesn't stack with cover, for example. And then the Arcane Bolt is no longer D3.
It's more the same as Smite, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's 1 mortal wound, and then it's D3 if you roll, I think it's 10.
It's 10,
or 11
yeah. It's
more.
practically in line with Smite. And I think that's much better because D3 it's harsh. Especially when...
The feeling being that what is said in the article is that there was a desire to see wizards using their own kind of unique spells more, rather than just be taken to generate loads of arcane bolt.
Yeah, and to be fair, fighting a Tzeentch army that can generate is just tough.
yeah. And this one is perhaps more importantly for me, certainly, the unbinding range is going up to 30 inches rather than 18. And because I can use things like priests, also the giant bloodthirster guy, I say the giant, the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster can unbind, Flesh Hounds can unbind. Although, ironically, I've recently got rid of my Flesh Hounds because I think they're going to do plastic ones at some point in the next 5 years.
But I think it's a good point. I think that an army like Khorne is really going to benefit from that a lot. Because at the moment, you're really weak to magic, frankly.
Yeah, frustratingly so. But hey ho, there's a couple of items actually, magical items, or artifacts or what have you that can help unbinding. So I might have to get some of them in, particularly when we come on to endless spells in a minute. There's going to be a need to stop that shit hitting the battlefield. Excuse my language. So summoning a big change in summoning.
Yeah.
It would seem that what you're going to have now. I'm not sure whether the original way of summoning will stay as well with the points, but in general,
isn't it?
Yeah. So there's going to be. So for example, in the Khorne army, when you've got 8 blood tithe points, you can summon a unit of Khorne demons. Now, at the moment, you would have to pay the points or keep the points back for that to then use when you did it. But moving forward, that won't be the case. You won't need the points to summon that unit. So I am intrigued to see whether, it might even have said in the article, I don't think it did, whether that's only going to apply where there are specific army summoning things. Because at the moment, for example, like every demon unit pretty much has the summon demon spell, which it gives to a chaos wizard. So they can, they can summon any unit. And I think it might get a bit silly if you haven't got to pay any points for that. But the army specific one's quite cool. Nurgle has the contagion points that they gather up, which goes towards that.
Yes, but but from my reading of it is that what you're doing to generate your summoning points, you're only generating that number of points. So that I think they're going to be hard work to get, theoretically, but you're going to have a cap. So, you're saying that they're free and you have to pay the points. You used to have to pay the points for them, and now you don't. That's true. But you're not going to have 30 units of bloodletters turning up just for the, poops and giggles of it. You're going to have however many summoning points you've managed to generate by playing in a specific way. And I think that's cool because I like to see armies playing in a themed way. So if Khorne are being corny and they're generating their, hitty smashy points, then they can bring out the banana heads, then great, fine. Because they would have had to work for them, and that means that I have a chance to stop them from being generated. So as long as they're not generating points for just dying, which really frustrates me.
Well, they do.
So then you're going to have to assume a certain amount of demons are going to come along for free for a Khorne army, whether they're losing or winning. So
at some point, I mean, to be fair, to access that, eight units on the battlefield have to have died.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of destruction.
It is
going on. So that's summoning, and so that brings us to the last one which came out, which is the endless spells.
Oh, yeah.
So these are uber spells, and this is interesting. So this is supposedly as a result of some of what Nagash was up to. And it says that essentially where before spells sort of fizzled out after a while of their own accord, that's now not the case. And some of them take on almost a sentience when they're on the battlefield. So this includes things like the giant jaws of Doom that have been seen, that look very cool and seem to be one of the more popular ones. It includes the purple sun, which
Bearwood
is
Vortex as well.
The Pokemon ball thing.
Bearwood Vortex?
I say it Bearwind Vortex. There's like a mirror thing, which is like 2 balls of energy in separate places.
Yeah.
So there's a few. And what I didn't realise until I read the article was that your opponent can steal control of them once they're on the battlefield, which is quite cool. And obviously these things have models, so that's another thing that you can wander down to your local hobby store and purchase, is one of these, or one or more of these cool models.
I wonder if they're going to come in.
I'll be interested to see.
Like multiple ones, or whether they, say 3 or 4.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
they're
huge.
They are, that Black Sun thing is the size of a big thing. A melon. No, not quite. A grapefruit, maybe. Right.
Melons are of different size, to be fair. So that's not very good, is it?
No, but I think they're going to be cool. I am significantly disappointed by this one because there has been no sign of a Foot of Gork model, and I think that is just rubbish.
I heard they're writing it out because it's ridiculous.
It's piffle. Absolute piffle.
Wow. I
think they should drop the casting value to 5. That's what I think.
Do you really? What, and it keeps working on like a 2+?
Yeah, seems good. Yeah, let's see, we're on the same page. Excellent, moving on.
yeah, excellent. We agree. So, obviously, in all of that, I mean, we spoke last time we were at Warhammer Fest, so we had seen the models that day, so we got new models on the way. Still no sign yet of what's actually in the starter set from point of view of the actual forces, like models.
Yeah, but we don't even know whether they are. I mean, they were being surprisingly coy about it, and I'm not sure I understand why. I mean, because they had a massive range of Death and Sigma models there. Like a lot of them. And everyone that we asked, are these going to be in the new box set? They gave us a really coy answer, and I don't know why, because they're there, we've seen them, we know there's going to be a new box set, so why not just tell us what's in it? I don't understand why they're doing that, to be honest. But there we go. There we go. The only ones I don't like out of that, and this is only I like them less than the others, are the kind of tougher looking mage priest ones with a mace in one hand and a wand thing in the other, or similar. Otherwise, I really like that whole set, especially the characters, dude.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're really good.
The Stormcast, like sucking the soul out of the dude on the floor, is just phenomenal.
That's great. The Soul Hoover, I heard it referred to.
If we see that in the box set, I'll be well chuffed.
Pro painted.
Yes, Soul Hoover.
The Soul Hoover. So, yeah. So lots of really exciting stuff for Age of Sigmar. I mean, it's due out in June, isn't it? So just around the corner.
Yeah, it really is just around the corner.
Just around the corner. So just in time to get that in and out of the way in time for massive battling robots that aren't the new knights.
I'm quite tempted to cut the Hero Quest out of my painting schedule and insert the new Age of Sigmar box set.
Yeah, well, you should. You know the best thing about Hero Quest? Stop him painting it so you can paint Age of Sigmar.
I'm not sure. I've got to paint the old stuff, yeah.
Thinking about Hero Quest, I've now got Conan in my head, which leads me on to what are the finer things in life, Conan? David Stowe cheddar cheese. Is what I felt the other day. Yeah,
but I don't think he was going to say that.
No, well, he should.
So, if we haven't seen all the rules, so if there was one rule that they haven't done yet that you would like to see changed or manipulated, what would it be?
Khorne should charge 8d6 inches.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Moving on from the dumbness.
Hey! That's not very nice. So, I think that I would like to see them change how and it is combat orientated, so I apologise, it clearly helps me. I think that they should change, there's a couple of areas, I suppose. The first is how you work out who can strike. So, the reach of an inch when so many units are on 40mm or 32mm bases just drives me mental, particularly and it's specifically bloodletters, and yes, I know they're really good and all the rest of it, but they've got frickin' great big swords, and yet most of the time I can't get a lot of them in because they only have a reach of 1. So I don't really like that. I find that annoying, and I find it slows the game down because I'm trying to sort of work my men into a way of fighting where I can get them within an inch.
That's you slowing the game down, Dan. It's not the rule.
Yeah, I know it is. I know, I just said that. But I'm slowing it down by following the rules. Uh-huh. So anyway, I prefer the 40k system, personally, of any model within an inch of one that is in base contact with the enemy.
Can I come back at that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I really like the Age of Sigmar way of doing it because it makes you fight in a unit-like way, whereas the 40k one feels more like a melee, and the combat would be like a melee, where if you went your way, you would remove the advantage of having spears, and you would stop fighting in a ranked kind of fashion, and I don't like that at all. You would just pile your models in and go, yeah, everyone's in a fight. And that's not how Age of Sigmar feels like it should work. It feels like it should work by having 2 lines of people come, and if you've got your spearmen in there because you've got the sense to work that out, then I think you should be rewarded for having that. That's my personal view. Otherwise, what's going to be the point of having a spear?
Well, you can still increase the range that you can be within someone.
What?
To fight.
Yeah, I quite like the way it is.
I do see what you're saying, and actually, really, I agree with you in as much as I do think you're right about how it makes you fight like a unit. The thing that frustrates me
is your bloodletter swords.
It's my bloodletter swords. That's what it is, really. That's come down to it. Is I got this effing great sword, and I may as well be armed with a flipping cocktail stick.
I've got a solution.
Don't play Khorne?
No. Get a pair of clippers and clip the sword down to a reasonable height.
Clip the swords. Okay, great. More of a Roman gladius rather than a great sword type size, yeah?
None of them wield them with 2 hands.
And piling in bugs me. Piling in really bugs me.
Piling in bugs me. Well, not so much the actual act of piling in. I just wish to clarify the rule a bit.
Well, you've got to end up closer to the nearest enemy model. And in doing so, you can't move more than 3 inches, and some special characters can move 6. But that, in combination with the 32mm bases, means that for great tracts of time, dudes just can't get in. And now I don't mind that if there's clearly, if like when we played and your orcs were holding the line between those rocks, that was very thematic. Clearly, I couldn't get to you. But when a unit, basically, you could wrap around it, but you can't because the closest model to you can't be reached with, with the 3-inch thing. That just, to me, is just bloody annoying and slows the game down. They need to... So
basically, more ways for you can get more of your guys into combat.
Yeah, basically, I want to get into combat better.
Love it.
Come on, I wasn't going to say anything else. I don't have really much knowledge of magic or shooting.
I don't, but one of the things I think is going to happen now is magic is going to feel more like a duel between the wizards, and I really like that. Because you'll be dispelling and putting spells out that if you pay attention to, you can use, and if you don't, then they can steal off of you. I think it's going to be cool. It feels more like the old kind of magic, where it was a little bit like a game within a game.
So what would you like to see?
I don't know the rules well enough to make a really clear comment on that, actually. I think...
But you know them well enough to make a dig at me.
I think one of the things that does frustrate me is the ability to pick out enemy characters with your bows. Particularly the Stormcast benefit from that because of their range and the strength of their shooters. So I think, in my limited experience. So I think they've done something to deal with that, but I'm not sure they've gone far enough. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I am super excited about it. So
I'm very excited about the book having an actual proper
with
rule
maps.
Book with updated background and maps. Yeah,
I love the maps. I love maps.
I like the maps in the first one where you've got like
the Realm of Life.
All the crazy maps. The Realm of Life.
That was a really wicked map. So, dude, we really ought to go into the community now.
We should. So, guys, for the first time tonight, grab some refreshments and join us in the community. Oh, and also, please do sign my online petition to have Reach 2 on Bloodletter Blades.
Hi guys, I'm introducing. I don't think I'm meant to be introducing, but we've kind of lost track of.
We've
lost track.
What we're doing.
23 episodes, we've got it right, and the 24th one is down the pan. It's all downhill from here.
It's all gone crazy.
So it's one of our favourite sections. It's hard to say we've got one, but I think I really enjoy this one. It's Hail to the Community, where we talk about the community around us, and that includes the wider community on the internet and. Hopefully if people start letting us know wherever you are, because we like giving a shout out to whatever awesome is going on.
We try and get everything up on the
calendar. We do try.
Yeah.
So, we've taken to, giving a shout out to, podcasts and, painters and on hobby blogs and groups at the start, and then moving on to the calendar. And I think that's kind of a format that works for us, doesn't it? So,
yeah. Well, I think the nice thing for us is we try and shout out stuff that we see that's awesome.
Yes.
And we want to celebrate it, and we want other people to see it because it's awesome.
And it's really
it's
important that I think people doing good work need to get recognised for it. That's what I think, anyway. So, first one is over to Dan for a group up in Bristol.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to a small group, Bristol Necromunda. So they've set up a Facebook page. They arrange games down at Big. There's 33 of them at the moment, and I'm pretty certain that chap friend of mine called Alistair sort of heads up that and is running the campaign. So at the moment, the Orcs are at the top of that campaign. But I think you can either be in the campaign or you can just do random pickup games. But it's quite nice to know there's a little group out there, you know, if Necromunda's your thing and you want, and you know, and you're local to Bristol and you want to get involved, just look them up. We will get a link to the group. I'll do a post linking the group. Anyway, at some point after the podcast comes out over the sort of week after that. And, we'll try and get in the show notes as well.
Yep.
Won't we, Ben?
Well, I'm going to be up at yours next week, and I can show you how to help me edit the show notes down, so we can, you know.
I thought we were going to be busy with me showing you how to weather a tank.
Yep. So, I'll go next. So the next one is a chap called Laserhead, or is on Instagram. I don't know him on if his tag's on Facebook or Twitter, but I first saw him ironically on Facebook, actually, on the Evia Metal painting site, which if no one, in fact, that's a good shout out right there. Evia Metal is a superb Facebook group. The standard of painting in there is ridiculous, but they're not exclusive in that if you post whatever work you're doing, you will get really sensible, really positive, thought out criticism. You're not going to get, from my experience, from what I've shared on there and from what I've seen other people share on there, you don't get burned. So it is a really good, positive experience and a really good place to pick up excellent hobby tips. And they run quite regular competitions, actually, and challenges, and do an excellent t-shirt that says Evia Metal paint to your drop, so that's a win. But they did a old model,
or if you're old like Ben, until your eyes get tired.
They did a competition for an old model, and Laserhead entered a second edition plastic orc with non-metal metallics, and it was superb. And that's how I picked up on him. And he's done since a fantastic Dark Angels Gravis Armor Captain. He's done recently an Empire General, that plastic mounted one, and it's just stunning work. And he, I know Marcus, the guy, one of the chaps who's in my little painting circle. He is really, really friendly and will answer and chat to questions. So, top guy, he's Laserhead3000 on Instagram.
Cool. So, I've had a look at some of the Laserhead 3000, like his pictures, and the stuff is amazing, mate. Really, really good. Really good. Really good. So,
it is. I mean, when you can non-metal metallic the end of the barrel on the second edition, Orc,
very good.
Yeah,
so
it's amazing.
We were having a chat, and we also wanted to do a shout out to Logan Proudbeard. So that's Ed. So Logan Proudbeard on Instagram. He's been working on some really nice red scorpions, and I really like red scorpions. I think they're a nice colour scheme. And I really like the fact that there's a bit of a story arc with Commander Culm. So he's not long ago painted the Dreadnought. I think I'm right in saying, aren't I, mate? Really, really cool Leviathan pattern Dreadnought with a twin assault cannon that is Commander Culm. And I just love it. I just really like it. Posts regular updates as well. So you're always getting like a little smatter of what Ed's working on. And Ben and I have been really fortunate enough to meet Ed and have a chat with him. And such a nice guy as well. It's just really nice to see what hobby he's working on.
It is, yeah, because he's genuinely interested in what other people are doing too, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice actually. That is true. Always asks after what we're doing, so that's really nice, really good of him. So there's a few there to look up. Some really nice stuff across there. So definitely recommend having a look.
It's calendar time.
It's calendar. Well, it's what has been and what is coming. So I wanted to just talk a bit about Curtain Games, who Ben and I went to visit a little while ago. We talk about most times because being a podcast that is focused on getting hobby moving, and particularly around the southwest, Curtain are always doing stuff. So this weekend they have run their Age of Sigmar tournament. 2,000 points. They had 26 players, Ben, which I thought was really good.
It is really, really good.
Particularly when you think they're in Crediton, which is, it's not a bustling centre of commerce.
It's Little England incarnate.
Exactly. So I think that's really impressive. And actually, Matt Lyons from the Pro Painted podcast came first in there. I had a look at the standings. What I didn't catch was what actual armies people were using. So it's not an epic rundown of how that event went, because we're not into that sort of thing, are we? But I'm sure if you go and listen to the next episode of Pro Painted, Matt will talk about it. So worth listening into that. And the next event from Curtain is on the 1st of September.
Well, so that's the next Age of Sigmar event.
Sorry, yes, the next Age of Sigmar event. There will be many events between now and then. But the next Age of Sigmar on 1st of September, and that is celebrating the it's called Second Edition Slaughter, so it's going to be following the launch of the new rule set. And Ben has just said to me, you'd quite like to go to that, haven't you?
I'd love to go to that actually, because we went up to Curtain Games just before Warhammer Fest, which is a bit of a shame because Warhammer Fest took a lot of our attention, so we didn't have a good chat about it. But it is a really cool venue, and it's got a nice big playing area. 26 players is a good tournament size for Age of Sigmar, and the place was really well set up. So there's a painting area, there's a decently stocked shop that I spent much more money than I intended to in. I was having stuff on the shelf that I didn't know about or didn't think about. So it's one of those shops where you go in and you're like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I'd quite like that. So it was good from shop front as well. And they've got a wicked gaming area upstairs. So, I'm really keen to go because it's not too far down the road from me. And, anywhere that's running tournaments that are drawing people from as far as, right at the edge of the southwest down, that's got to be good. It has to be good.
Absolutely.
So quite keen for that. I might have to inject some more time into my Iron Jaws to top them up to 2,000 though. I don't know how
Yes.
far off. So maybe another unit of Gore Grunters and Brutes, perhaps. Don't know, but then we'll see.
Bristol
yes.
Independent Gaming also had an Age of Sigmar doubles today, but I was having a look, but I couldn't see anything about the stand-ins, or anything at all other than to say they had a doubles event today. So I'll throw that out there, but it's nice to know there's plenty of Age of Sigmar stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's one of those things where, you know, I've always had thought that it was in the background and not quite so popular a year ago, but now I think that concept is total garbage, and it's out there with good tournaments and a really wicked scene. So, the fact that I'd really like to do a doubles tournament with you, Dan. Really keen to do that. We need to get that sorted.
Yeah.
So, let's go through. So we're going to probably shoot a little bit further ahead this time, because my feeling has been that 2 weeks isn't enough time to get people ready to go. Or, you know, if we're talking about an event that's happening next week, it doesn't give you much of a chance, does it?
No.
So, on that note, today was a Saga tournament at Dice and Daggers.
Today?
No, I'm joking. So next week, we have the UK Games Expo, which will be huge, and we have toyed with the idea of going up, but in the end decided that just a quiet weekend hanging out would be better, actually.
Well, ultimately, you know, we talk about being a family podcast, and we have to balance the needs of family, and me being away again so soon after Warhammer Fest wasn't really fair. And also, sometimes, like, you can spend all this time, I find, looking at all the cool new stuff that's coming out and not getting all the stuff you've got done. So that's one of my other drivers. And we're looking at starting a Blood Bowl League, and we need you to be here so we can play some games of that. So, yeah. I'm sure it'll be amazing.
So, on the same weekend, on the Friday, there's the 4 Warlords Age of Sigmar event at Games Workshop Truro. He's popped a few events up over the next couple of weeks. So, Friday nights on the gaming evening, have a look. It looks like at the moment he's leading up to Age of Sigmar, so that makes sense. And in fact, the following day, they're having the Battle of 4 Warlords in Taunton as well. Games Workshop
Now
Taunton.
that's the 750-point one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And in Truro, they're having the Age of Sigmar dual painting competition, which is probably 2nd of June this weekend. If you're good and very fast, you might be able to knock something out for that. Not me. So, looking forward to the 9th of June, we have the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Grand Tournament Heat 3 at Warhammer World. They're massive events, and I really want to go to one next year, Dan, just heads up.
Yeah, me too. It's worth, sorry dude to jump in, but this weekend coming, so Saturday the 2nd, Sunday the 3rd is the Vanquish
completely
event.
Missed that. Yeah.
Big, so at Bristol Independent, so that's a 40k event. Usually sells out, but it's always worth checking. I mean, we do, when we put events on, we try and to put in a link to the relevant event, so just have a click on there if you want to find it.
Then we've got the Saturday the 9th is the Queen's birthday, if anyone's interested, but probably not a decent Games Workshop event attached to that. But there is something, and this is probably my favourite named event of the next month, Scoundrels and Nerf Herders X-Wing Tournament at Admiral's Landing in Bridgewater. Whoever named that, right, needs a crown. Because that is flipping awesome. Yep, so it doesn't give you much time to get involved with that, but, you know, look it up. Now's the time. If you're listening to this...
At least you don't have to paint the models.
Yeah, no, at least you don't. You know, if you're listening to this and think, I fancy an X-Wing tournament and I'm near Bridgewater, then go for that. That's on. And moving on to the 16th, we have Curtonian Carnage, which is the 40k tournament at Curtin, as the name gives it away. That's on the Saturday the 16th of June. And Black Library Live is on the same day as that, if you're interested in Black Library stuff, which most of us are. Looking forward a bit further from that, 23rd of June is the Guild Ball Bash at Barb's Model and Games. Guild Ball's got quite a little scene going on, actually. I know Sean,
Sustain Fire Sean,
is really into it.
Loves a bit of Guild Ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Marcus is quite into it. If it wasn't another game with another set of rules, I might be interested, but it's just too many as it is.
Yeah.
And then moving forward into July, there's a Warhammer 40k doubles tournament at Terra Games, which is in Newton Abbot, which is a nice little venue, and really friendly guys. There's a couple, I think they're a couple that run it, and they're both really nice, both very talkative. So definitely worth going and having a look if you're in the Newton Abbot area. And then the one that we want to give a bit of a shout out for, and it's on our calendar. I'm not completely sure, but the Greetings from the Warp, or Greetings from Sigmar, Sigmar's Malevolence, I think has changed dates, so that's on there. I'll change that though. But those guys run a cracking tournament, so if you're up there in that area, that's worth looking at. But on the 7th and 8th, down in Redruth, is Geekfest 4, which Dan and I are going to be there on a Sunday. We've been asked...
Whoa! Celebrity attendance!
Sorry?
I said celebrity attendance.
They've got a few celebrities going down, so I don't think we're going to count, and not even remotely fact. So, yeah, that's in Heartlands in Redruth, and we've been asked to attend to talk about setting up a podcast. So we'll be there. If you want to come and have a chat with us, we'll have a few of our models. Well, I will, because I'm a bit more local.
And Ben can tell you all about the technicalities of setting up a podcast.
Well, I'll bring our equipment down so you can have a look at it.
And I will just talk about being the personality.
I'll bring the box with the blanket, the box and blanket, and people can see that actually you don't need a lot of stuff to start a podcast. But yeah, we'd love to see it, guys. We love meeting people, so come and see us, honestly. And bring something that you've painted, because I'd love to see it.
Yes, that would be ace. That would be ace.
And then finally, on that same weekend, Saturday the 7th and 8th, is the Big Southwest Clash 2, which I haven't written on my thing, whether or not that is 40k or Age of Sigmar.
Well, that's really helpful, Ben.
Well, sorry, man. Hang on, I'm getting there.
Good.
Kings of War, that is. That's Kings of War.
So it's neither.
It's neither. Sorry, it's Kings of War. Right, so there we go. That's June and a little bit of July. There's an X-Wing Store Championship going back on for Curtain Games on Saturday, the 28th of July. So that's going forward. Actually, ignore me. That's much further forward. So there you go. There's the rundown for the month. If you have an event and you want it on the calendar, it's always professional with us. Man.
It's always professional.
I know the rundowns can be a bit of a bit rapid fire, but big ones to just take away from it: Scoundrels and Nerf Herders, Geekfest, UK Games Expo, Vanquish. They're all on our calendar.
Geekfest, also known as 2P's on tour. Now I've got to make sure I come.
Yeah, well, you better, otherwise I'll smack you around the side of the head. But have a look at those guys. They're on our website, the 2P's, or 2p'sinapod.com/community, and the calendar is there. You can sort of, because it's Google, you can, add it to your Google calendar. But if you want us to add something to it, if you want us to shout out an event, then please just give us a shout, because we're more than happy to do that. It doesn't matter where it is. We'll give it a shout, but we're especially interested in people giving us information about the Southwest events. So there we go.
There we are. I think it is time to head into the wilds.
Yes. Let's do it.
To the wilds.
Ba, 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 ba. Oh, just to come back, as I'd stopped recording when you went in for the last one, nobody signed that stupid petition. Please.
Hashtag 2 inches for blood letters.
Is that the size of their head?
It could actually be.
It's
Especially
not
like
far
when you
off.
add the tongue on as well. Wild thing. Dun, 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 dun. You make my heart sing. Ben wanted me to introduce this one because he says I'm normally asleep by this point.
Dude,
There you go.
I think my microphone has just melted. That was so out of tune.
Listen, I don't come for the music. I'm here for the looks.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
It's a sad day. It's not good at all, is it?
We've reached
anyway,
the low.
Listeners, the drop pod is nearing the end of its journey. Thank goodness. I think we would say the assault on your senses is almost over. Slanesh itself is weeping after that, and we have got into the wilds. So a few things to talk about in the wilds. The big one for me that I'm super excited about, Ben, is Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, I'm yes. So we've been in the gaming group, Bodmin gaming group. We've been starting. When I say we, I'm going to give the credit where it's due. Driven by Carl Rooms and John Moyes, who's been doing sort of the groundwork for the last couple of weeks. They've set up a Battle Companies sort of event, campaign is the word I'm looking for. You can tell it's late. So we've been using that book, which has been ridiculously hard to get hold of. It's obviously selling well. I noted at Warhammer Fest, it's practically sold out within a couple of hours. So, I went there after 2 hours, having been upstairs going mental at Titanicus, and they'd sold out. So, it's really cool. It's effectively your company starts with a prescribed number of models with a specific set of equipment. So, for example, my elves have 2 spearmen and shields, 2 swordsmen and 1 archer. And then you play the games. You can either, there's loads of different scenarios in the book, and they're really good, actually, the scenarios, Dan. The Lord of the Rings one always have been, but they are really good. And then you generate experience and influence points to spend as you get them. And as a result of that, I have been going through all my models, all the ones I haven't painted, and been getting really excited about what I have to paint. But also pulled out my War of the Ring army for the first time in 10 years, which was really nice to do, actually. Because that was the first time I army painted. As in, I didn't spend a massive amount of time on each model. I just went for it to get them all out and on the table. And they do look okay. And I remember them being worse than they are. So that was nice. I might go back and do some weathering on them, but, I'm quite happy with them. But that was the nail in the coffin for you, wasn't it? Seeing the picture of those.
It was, yeah. Pretty much. So a few things sort of added. So I've always loved Lord of the Rings. Always loved Lord of the Rings as the stories. But The Hobbit, not the Hobbit films. I like the Hobbit films, but really the way that the Hobbit, was working for Games Workshop when the Hobbit came out. And it really felt for me like when Lord of the Rings came out, it was very successful from a sales point of view for Games Workshop. People were literally just coming in and buying stuff because it was Lord of the Rings. And it felt a little bit like with The Hobbit that the price points, for example, were chosen and the expectation was set that it would be the same. And when it wasn't, it was a little bit flat. And that kind of knocked it out of me a bit, really. And I never really recovered from my love of the strategy battle game. And, until now, really. in fact, sadly, I got rid of my strategy battle game stuff, and Ben always berates me for getting rid of things, and I would say, no, you got to clear out, And for the first time, genuinely regret selling off a whole load of lovely Lord of the Rings miniatures. But it just, wipes the slate clean. It's fine. But when we were at Warhammer Fest, we went to the Specialist Games seminar, and that included Adam Troke standing up and talking about the Middle-earth, well, what we believe will become the Middle-earth strategy battle game. And then Ben put up the picture of his elves. And at the same time, I watched the Middle-earth Takeover, which is once a month on Warhammer Live, again with Adam talking. And what's really, really, really cool is he is so passionate about Lord of the Rings.
He is, isn't he? He's such a dude.
And his team are so passionate. It's only a little team, and they know so much, and the detail that goes into it. The new chap that's like the leader of the Minas Tirith that guard the wall, the outer wall. Not the outer wall of the Seven, but there's another wall that the Pelennor fields are inside of. And the fact that on the shield, they've kind of sculpted the symbol, which is the 7 walls of Minas Tirith, and then the outer wall. It's just amazing. And they were even on the show, they were talking about the lineage of Knights of Dol Amroth and how that would influence whether or not they would have beards. That's
really interesting, because one of the things that I'd seen people pick holes in on the internet was why the Knight of Dol Amroth had a beard when they were described as clean shaven. But I didn't know the Silmarillion well enough, or the Return of the King well enough to be able to comment. But it's really interesting that actually they know exactly what they were doing, and they had a good reason for it. That's superb.
He actually quotes it, and I think it's Fair of Face, I think he's described as. But so basically those things all came together and something got relit inside my soul for the strategy battle game. And really excited. So battle companies, I didn't actually know you were so far into doing battle companies, Ben. That's quite news to me. But it's nice to know. So my Battle Companies book is in the post on the way to me. I've got some Mordor Orcs on the way. And a couple of heroes just to start that off. And what I'm really excited about doing is the narrative campaign. So in White Dwarf, January and February issues, scenarios were posted to allow you to do the Battle Companies story campaign, but from the evil perspective. So the first mission, you come across 5 elves from Mirkwood and ambush them. And then in between that, you play against the other people. But what's nice is the 2 campaigns slot alongside each other. So Tom is doing elves. So he will play the missions as presented in Battle Companies, the book. And then myself and Ben Chambers, Ben the Bass, I'm doing Mordor, he's doing Moria. Actually, Colin's doing Lake Town, and Dan Wasley's going to do Hobbits. So the good side will follow that story arc, and the evil side will follow the other one. And in between the games, we'll play each other. I'm really excited about it, and little things like getting the forces. So the first scenario is you're in Lake Town, and one of your guys has got drunk or whatever they've done, and they've been arrested. And you've got to go and rescue them. So you have to have 12 Lake Town guards. So it's not a scenario where my orcs turn up and play Tom's elves. It's actually a scenario where, like the Lord of the Rings ones were really, that you've got both sides. So I'm really excited about going and buying the opposing forces. For example, in this case, 12 guard of Lake Town. And that'll just, my collection will just grow little bits at a time. So I'll have the Lake Town Guard, and then I'll have 5 Mirkwood Elves, and I'll have my battle company, and then, there's one result on the battle companies where a spider joins your warband. It's just very exciting. Really exciting. So I can't wait for them to arrive. I do still have the original Metal Fellowship, the very first Fellowship.
Do they still release that?
No. You can't buy them like that anymore. And that's really exciting for me because Lord of the Rings was going on. I remember going to Games Day where it was first announced that they would be doing the miniatures game, and pre-ordering the set, which was you got Moria Goblins and the Last Alliance sprues in the starter set, the very first starter set. So yeah, that is very well. You can tell I'm very excited about it. Really excited about it. So looking forward to that. What's also a bit mental, Colin, who's a friend of mine that lives in Weston-super-Mare, it has transpired, decided that he wanted to recreate Lake Town. So he doesn't have 1, 2, 3, or 4 Lake Town houses. He has 36.
Oh, for goodness sake, that's incredible.
I know. I nearly fell off my chair. So, yeah.
Insane.
We are certainly, I am pushing him for Lake Town recreation.
So one of the things I am a bit worried about now is, see, I've just had this a feeling that I hate. It's the feeling that I've missed something that I should have got when they came out, and it's gone now, and I'm never going to have. I really liked those old box sets, and I haven't actually been on the page and seen how they're done now, but like the Ambush at Amon Hen or Weathertop, where you got the scene, the models to play that scenario. Do they do those?
Some of them.
Because
I don't do them all.
I'd be gutted if I could never get, especially if I liked the original Fellowship models. I'd be gutted. I've got a lot of them, and I've got a lot of sorting out to do, really, to work out which ones I've got of which. But
I actually think the Elrond that you've got, that's from the Last Alliance, is one of my favourite miniatures games that I've ever made.
It's superb.
It's incredible.
It is
and it's
utterly superb.
From that scene, I was watching it today when I was painting, and I watched that scene, and he stood there shouting, and it is. It's just like flipping awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I really hope, so one of the things Adam said about was, looking at focusing on other things. So like doing, for example, the Pelennor Fields, which is, I think, what they're working on now.
It is, yeah. So one of the things that he said was that when they did Pelennor Fields, they did work really closely with New Line Cinemas, but there's only so close that you could work when everything was kept so secret. And there was a lot of characters, for example, the Mummock War Chief, that Games Workshop knew nothing about at all, until they went and watched the film. So there is a lot of models that missed the kind of release schedule because they didn't know that they existed and therefore didn't make them and had to move on to the next thing. And they're going back now and they're padding it out. So there's a couple of Orcs, heroes that they're doing. One of them doesn't have a name, apparently.
One of them is Gothmog's Enforcer, and the other one is Gerbitz, I think he's called.
Was Gothmog's Enforcer has a name, but they weren't allowed to use it because of trademark?
No, I don't think he's ever referred to by a name.
So yeah, Gothmog's Enforcer, and of course the War Chief on top of the Mummock. Those are the things that they're going back and adding in. So I expect to see more of that. Oh, and the Knights of Dol Amroth, on foot. They've added those in.
Those are
gorgeous,
unbelievable,
absolutely gorgeous,
unbelievable, so nice. There's some lovely models. So the Gondor commanders, right? There's a guy with a two-handed sword. Oh my goodness me!
Something the Tool.
No, oh, well, yeah, there's him coming out. That's lovely. But just in the current Gondor Commanders set.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So,
and the Rohan Commanders set. I think the only shame is that across the range, you can see, I feel it's quite distinct, the evolution of miniature design. So the original Rohan Warriors box set, next to the Rohan Commanders, I think is quite distinct.
So one of the things that I think Lord of the Rings did, in a lot of ways, was push the boundaries. And I don't think everyone at the time realised exactly what was happening, but the battle game itself, I think that rule set influenced so many games that have come out since. The alternating priority, It was a very, very good skirmish game. It was a very, very good skirmish game. But the plastics, because I know that they spent a lot of their money investment from the Lord of the Rings on on plastic making machines, or at least I don't know for certain, but that was what was being told to staff members. The Rohan horsemen at the time were an absolute revolution. They were just stunning because of the way the horse looked, the way the rider was on top. Of course, now we look back and think, oh, that's really dated and looks not great. But how thin the spears were on those Rohan warriors, mate. The detail of the the spear tip, all of those little things were the start of what we've got now. Where that, the plastics now are just phenomenal. As the guys,
I have to say, sorry, but I'm just sat here, just flicking down through the range, and I could cry. Like, the stuff. I am a big advocate for not having rack upon rack of unpainted models, but my days, be careful before you get rid of stuff, because there's just some stunning stuff that I have had in the past. Damn.
Yeah.
And I know you agree, because we have this conversation quite often, but I
see it as a bits box. I always have done. So I do hoard. I pick up bits here and there. When it comes to models, I do hoard. But that's because now for this kind of very reason, I haven't done Lord of the Rings in 10 years, but I've come back to it, and I'd be gutted if I was in your position. I'm afraid. But anyway, Lord of the Rings wasn't the only thing we wanted to talk about, although we've managed to do a whole section on it.
Well, more to come, because we're loving it.
Yeah, for real. What else have we got in there?
So, we have been doing some Blood Bowl.
Oh, crikey, we could do a whole section on Blood Bowl, frankly.
We could do a whole segment on. So, I managed to play against you and your goblins. We had a bit of a go, didn't we?
Me?
Yeah,
No, it's humans versus orcs, mate.
Oh, yeah, it was, wasn't it? I thought it was goblins.
No,
it's because you've got goblins.
I have got goblins.
So you used the humans, so we had a go. I played Skaven, and I've played against elves. I've not played a full game yet. It takes so much longer than you think it would.
I think that's just because you're getting used to it.
Yeah, it is, and we are kicking off a league as well, so I think the game will be much more enjoyable as the league develops, because when you start, and so many of your players have got so few skills, a 1 in 6 chance of your turn being over, oh my goodness, I just lose my shit, to be frank. I'm sorry, you'll have to take that out, but I just get so annoyed.
I'm not taking that out.
It's just so frustrating. I don't even mind losing. Oh my goodness. And it is this, I'm sure the dice just think it's hilarious. I know they do, in fact.
I will be naming all of my players, and I think I'm probably going to do like a Spike magazine article for everything that everything that I can get hold of. So I think it'd be quite cool to release that to everyone to see.
Yeah, it would be good. Oh my days, the Lake Town Guard are £40. Well, maybe this cool idea of doing the all the forces for the little scenarios is not as good a one as I thought.
Well, they're not going to be plastic, are they, the Lake Town Guard? Sorry.
Well, I thought they might have been. There is some plastic ones that look similar, that are like, where are they from? What's the town called that's on the mountain that gets burned?
We're
We're just as good at names in this game system.
No idea. But you've gone back to Lord of the Rings.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
So Blood Bowl, yeah, we've been doing a bit of Blood Bowl. We're starting a tournament. Really excited about that.
What I like about Blood Bowl is you can, like they say, you always say an army is never finished. And I know you can do different things and stuff, but I do like the fact that in Blood Bowl, there's quite a structure. So if I paint 16 linemen, which I'm not going to do because you never use 16 linemen, but my orc team can have 16 linemen, 4 blitzers, 4 black orcs, 4 goblins, and a troll. Once that's all painted, that is done.
Yeah.
I really like that.
So, I completely agree. I like the fact that there's a cap on it, a lot. So we've got, so I'm trying to fussle forward because we're getting a bit late in the day now, but Dan's got some scenery you'd like to talk about by Game Mat EU and TT Combat.
So I was flicking through, and I'd just like to say that it's Warriors of Dale is what I was talking about. But anyway, moving on. GameMat.eu, some chem zone terrain. So GameMat.eu do terrain which is pre-painted. Now, it isn't going to win any painting competitions, but it is better than unpainted, and they do some very nice stuff. Now, what this is a series of pipes and vats of like bubbling chemicals and stuff. You can use 28mm scale, so you can use it for Necromunda is the obvious one, but also things like Batman, it would work well for. So that's really
especially
good.
like a cool 2-Face situation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's well worth, I think, well worth checking out. I mean, GameMat.eu, if you haven't heard of them or haven't checked them out, they do have some really nice terrain. They've got some cool, like, generator things that, whilst I would want to paint them and mount them on stuff and blend them in a bit more, they are very nice. And I would certainly say go check out the website because they've got some good stuff on there. That was scenery, and something else from truly from the wilds that I wanted to mention was that I noticed today that TT Combat have put out the destroyers and included experimental rules for them from Drop Fleet game. So we spoke. It would have been a little while back because it was before I moved into the newer hobby room about TT buying Drop Zone Commander and Drop Fleet Commander.
Yeah,
and so it's really nice, I think, to see something new coming out. It's not just a case of they're shepherding it along into its demise. They're genuinely investing in and growing it.
Yeah, that's really important.
So that's really nice. So I can't really comment on the impact on the game. I don't play the game. I know it was designed by Andy Chambers, or he had a big hand in it. The models are really, really nice. It's quite a different system, as I understand it, but not one at the moment that I partake of. But I'm sure there's some people out there that do, which is great. So yeah, it would be nice to hear, actually. If anyone is listening and does play Drop Fleet and has experienced these destroyers, please let me know, because I'd love to know what the impact is on the game and how you feel about it, really. That would be, it'd be really good. So
there's a few guys who play that down in Trelawney.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they were playing when I went down there, yeah.
I mean, the models are really nice, and also the Kickstarter was, it was incredible by the end. The amount of stuff you would get if you had fully invested in it at the beginning, based on all the stretch goals they hit. You'd just be swimming in the stuff. I don't think you'd ever need to buy any more.
I had a dream that I had a drop fleet commander force the other day.
You had a dream that you had one?
Yeah.
That's excellent.
It was weird because Joe got me. I saw the Drop Zone. I think it's Drop Zone Commander. She got me the rule book for my birthday. Yeah, my birthday. And it's been by my bed for ever since. I just occasionally pick it up and flick through the background. And
you got the rule book for it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Sorry, for what?
Drop Zone Commander, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just randomly the other day had a dream that I had a fleet. Don't know why. Strange things that your brain does when you're asleep, but there we go.
Yeah.
So, that draws us to an end of our little foray into the wilds. Really exciting times, I think. And just as a little heads up, I'm going to be talking to, or interviewing, John and Ross, from Shades of Chaos Games about their upcoming release of a new book, which is quite exciting, and they're going to give us a scoop on that, which, depending on how, because they're both very excited about it, so I've got a feeling they might go on for a fair bit. No, which is going to be awesome, but we might not be able to include it in an actual episode, but probably put it out as a separate thing for people to have a listen to. So that's really wicked. And he's sneak peeked it on their site called How to Be a Badass. So I don't know any more than that.
I love that. That's excellent.
Awesome. So, guys, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the 2P's podcast. Our website is 2psinapod.com. Particularly direct you to the community site part of that. We would love to do more blog posts, written stuff, but frankly, I struggle to form a sentence verbally, let alone write it. So writing anything sensible would be just tough, I think. But I think I might put together the pictures from Warhammer Fest and start with that one and go from there. But that's something we'd like to think about. But please look us up on there, have a chat with us, share your models with us. We love having the responses on the Hobby Desk post. I've particularly loved everyone's response to the scenery post. So thank you for that.
I always love it, actually, dude, when you put up your sort of work in progress Wednesdays and ask people to post what they're working on. It's always like a lovely one to follow through the day.
Yeah, I really like it.
As things sort of trickle in on it, it's just really nice.
And it cheers me up no end, because I think it does. The hobby for me is as much about what other people are doing as is about what I'm doing, and work. As much as I love my job and it is my vocation, popping on to our page and seeing what people have posted throughout the day cheers me up. So thank you. So awesome. That draws to an end our anniversary episode.
There we are. Exciting. Well, what can we say? Thank you very much. It's been great, actually. It's been really good, and I'm really excited about the next year with all the stuff we've talked about. And we haven't even mentioned, or barely even mentioned, Titanicus yet. Wait till that drops. Oh, my days.
We're going to need to send you up some sedation, aren't we?
Absolutely, mate. Into that doctor's bag.
Just for anyone who's listening, I won't be doing that. Don't contact the GMC.
No, please.
Right, guys. See you in episode 25.